He's quite the hype man. Now I know why I closed my week with that guy. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. So we're gonna give some stuff away first. So we know who drove it. I want to know how many people got on an airplane, because if you know my story, I freaking hate flying. So let's shout out the people that got on an airplane and come here today. Who came on an airplane? We're going to give away a couple of books right now, so it's going to be a contest. Who came from, so I heard Texas in the house, right? Who came from Texas? Woohoo! Anybody beat that for distance? I thought I heard Detroit. I think Detroit's farther away. Detroit? Anybody beat Detroit? Anybody farther than Detroit? Well, that could be hard to beat.
Oh, that's pretty far.
Yeah. Florida, Fresno, California. Was that a couple of connections or what? Yeah, I've been there. I know what that's like. I don't think anybody can beat Florida. Can anybody beat Florida? Which autograph book would you like? One Rental at a Time or 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires?
One Rental at a Time.
You got it. You come get it right now. It's right here for you. All right. So I have the other one. 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires. So when I think about this group, right, and I've been to lots of real estate meetups and events over the last 20 some odd years. Some when we had 0, some when we have hundreds of units. I think there's something that makes One Rental at a Time different. It's a phrase. So I want to hear people shout out. The first person to hear my magic phrase gets the next autograph book.
Do the work!
All right, so who thinks they got it first? There you go.
That was.
Tosses to you, ready? All right, congratulations. So thank you for that. How many people over the last year or two have gotten one of these cards in the mail? So the U.S. mail does not take very good care of these. I've seen yourself. I've seen them. So I brought a bunch. So if you wanted to frame it or whatnot, there's some versions here. You can just ask. They'll be over here with Millennial Mike. So again, if you earn one, I'm not a hard grader. If you really want to lie and get one of these, go ahead. Yeah. I got a whole stack of them. Have fun. Also, if you earn one of these, or 2 or 3, and I haven't sent you one, go get them. Right? And if you want later in the day, you can find me. I'll sign them or whatever you would like. But do me a favor. One of the things I hope happens today is my Instagram blows up. So take pictures. Whatever you want. Tag me on Instagram. Let's have some fun with this. Because I do think One Rental at a Time is different. We're about doing the work. We make no promises. It's hard out there. You're going to have to make lots of offers. I do say that the last 2 years were easy. The next 2 years won't be. However, if you know my story, the next 2 years are going to be amazing. I got my first deal out of the MLS in 3 years. I'm working on another one right now. The MLS is going to become a shopping ground for us. You're going to write lots of offers. It's okay. I've written lots of offers my entire journey. But they're out there. Creative financing. We're going to bring on Cody and Christensen later in the day. These two, don't take offense to this. You're younger than my daughter, so I'm going to call you a kid. Much respect. These kids, millions of dollars in seller finance. That's all they do. He's going to get his first bank loan. He's got like 120 units. Ain't that fun? I'm like, damn, kid. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
That's going to be an amazing story. But here's the deal. There's no PowerPoint today. 0. This event is going to be good or bad based on the folks in this room. I'm going to bring up my experts. I have a couple of softball questions for them, but you are going to be asking them questions. Right? We are recording this, so I probably will repeat the question. I may phrase it differently so it includes the room, but we are going to answer your questions. Deal?
Deal.
All right, so first up, we have the one and only Millennial Mike and Dion McNeeley, part of the Three Amigos.
You can stand
You're first. You're on the far side.
You guys don't need mics?
Where they at? Oh, yeah. My bad.
I mean, I got a loud voice, but 8 hours of this, I think I need a mic. You just need to push up, I think.
Just rip it off.
Just rip it.
Like you're breaking it.
Yeah, but I've done
And then
that
you
before.
push the mute button to go.
10% rule.
Testing? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I'll be in the middle, so we'll go like tallest to, not tallest. He's not laughing.
10% rule kicked in.
There you go. So you guys know these guys? Right? So one of the things that I hope happens today is not only do you take lots of pictures with me and get autographs and all of that, but I hope you all take selfies with all of the experts that you will see today. These individuals give us an hour a week minimum. And hopefully you like what they have to say, you have some questions for them, but please tag them, be a part of this. One rental at a time is a different thing because of our experts. If I was the only one speaking, the channel would not exist. It would be gone. So, Dion, real quick, introduce yourself just in case nobody knows who you are, a little bit about your story, and we'll go to Mike next.
Howdy. Welcome to One Rental at a Time. So, for me, financial freedom happened because I kept losing my jobs. I tried for a pension in the Marines. I tried for a pension in law enforcement. Is this working?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's
off.
There you go.
Hey.
It's my first time.
Closer, closer.
Eating ice cream.
There you go.
Right, exactly. So I kept losing jobs, so I started looking out for a way to make a pension of my own, got into real estate. Started from a really bad position. I was a single parent with 3 kids, found out about $89,000 in bad debt in my name that I didn't know existed until the divorce. Started one rental at a time before I found the book. Took about 8 years to reach financial independence, 12 years to reach financial freedom. Finally retired this year after 12 years of investing. And just like out of the book, all of my deals are from the MLS, traditional lending, no secret sauce, easy to reproduce. And I'm excited to be here because it's that simple. We have some concepts coming up later today for the people that are a lot more motivated and hardcore than I am because I'm super lazy. I had to find an investing strategy that would work for somebody who has memory issues, who has a busy schedule. I was working a full-time job like most of the people that start investing. I was raising those kids and I had to make it extremely easy. So whenever I talk about investing, I usually break it down into steps, like I'm talking to myself, because that's how it has to be presented.
Very cool. And Mike? Damn, you're tall.
How's it going, guys? My name is Mike Newton. I grew up extremely poor. 6 kids from 3 different dads, single mom who was a druggie. I didn't like being poor. It wasn't something that I enjoyed as a child when everybody else got to do fun things. So I started studying about how to make money. I started by listening to Dave Ramsey about 14 years ago. Any other Dave Ramsey people out there? Yeah? Who are recovering Dave Ramsey addicts, probably? Wait, you mean I need a credit score to get a house? Oh, shoot, that's not what Dave said. So after going through the rehabilitation of the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University and buying my first rental, which was a house hack in the Seattle area, Beth's from Seattle, Cody Christian. In fact, there's a whole Seattle team here today, I think, but Dion. I bought that first house hack, and then I said it's really expensive to save 20% down in Seattle, so I started investing out of state. So I own a bunch of properties in Indiana. I own one in Chicago because there was a lower cost and barrier to entry. There's a whole unique set of challenges with investing at a distance, but that's what I don't want to say I'm an expert at it, but I have experience. That's me.
There you go.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
So we're going to do, again, you remember, you're going to get to ask these guys questions. So we have a little softball we're going to tease first, so get your questions ready. We're just going to do raise your hands, nothing formal, so we'll have fun with that. But you guys came prepared to talk about kind of the 6 steps. So break that down. Are you guys going to go back and forth, I'm guessing?
Yes.
There you go.
So in order to make this very simple for me, I had to make it like a process that I can actually think, what stage am I in now? So I have 6 steps for investing in real estate. For if you haven't got your first deal yet or you're between purchases, these are the same 6 steps that we repeat. The first step a lot of people make a mistake on is learning how to save. That's that rule number 1 is if you can't save money, you're not going to have money to invest. And so many people, when they look at saving, they look at spending less. And I think that's the mistake. So as a single parent who, I was only making $17 an hour when I first started thinking I'm going to take charge of my finances and look at real estate. How much can you save if you're only making $17 an hour?
Not much.
So it took side hustles, overtime. We talk about being trapped in the rat race, but climb the corporate ladder, figure out how you're going to get a better job. And sometimes people our age will think that means longevity at a company. But if you've been watching the trends for the last 10 years, The people who change companies often get a much bigger raise than the person who stays at the same company. So if you can focus on saving first, as a single parent, also working in law enforcement, what do you do to save?
Great question. It was a little tricky at first, and to Dion's point, getting a better job was the first thing I did. I worked in construction for 6 years, and that was good because I learned a lot about remodeling homes. But I said to myself, I'm kind of maxed out. I can't really make much more money unless I'm going to buy this place or strike out on my own. Unfortunately, a friend of mine was murdered, and I decided that I wanted to go into law enforcement because I didn't like what happened to her, and I wanted to do something about it. And so that's why I moved over, but I work in a state where law enforcement actually gets paid pretty well and had a much higher trajectory, so that's what I did. I want to ask one quick question. Can I get a show of hands, everybody who does not have a single rental property or unit? Is there anybody out there? Okay, I feel like that's 50-50. And then everybody else owns at least one or more. Okay, cool. I want to know who we're talking to. That's how I save. I obviously live very frugal, beneath my means. I drive, if anybody's familiar with a Geo Metro.
It's a clown car. He actually sent me a video of it. He has to unfold to get out. It's embarrassing. I have no idea why you would let a woman in that car.
Well, I don't think they go willingly. little charm goes a long way. I swear it's economical. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, I to this day drive a car that's older than the women I date, and almost, it's 30 years old. I'm only 31. Okay, come on. So I'm gonna turn it back over to Dion. I didn't say they were teenagers. It's a 30-year-old car.
I'm not bailing you out. You post yourself.
That's just recorded.
Dion, you're up, buddy. Okay.
So you see how the normal narrative when it comes to saving is I live frugally, I drive an old car. I am not frugal. I don't ever want to be frugal. I was frugal for a few years. But what Mike and I both do is house hack. If you can reduce or eliminate that largest expense, then you don't have to live frugally. So that first thing with saving is increase what you make. If you can figure out how to get rid of those largest expenses, and that might be take a remote work job, get rid of one of the cars. It doesn't have to be house hacking. There's a lot of ways to do things like that. The second thing to focus on this 6 steps is credit score. If you don't understand your credit score and how to improve it, you're not going to be able to even understand, can you do lending or should you go with the alternates that you're going to hear when we have Cody and Christian up here on ways that you can make your work, your income, your salary not matter when it comes to investing in real estate. But a lot of people talk about what should be the goal with a credit score when you're looking at a mortgage?
You want a 740 because that will qualify you for the best interest rates on the loan. You get the lowest payment, yada, yada.
Okay. So you're going to hear a lot of people, if every time you go to Google and say, I want to get a mortgage, lenders are all going to say, you want a 740 credit score. The credit score that you see on Credit Karma is not the credit score that the lenders are going to see. So your goal should be to get that 780 to 800. You can start buying real estate when you have in the high 5s with an FHA. Start that house hack before you have your credit under control. But if you can get your actual credit score that you see into that 780 to 800, then the lenders are always going to see a 740 or better. I'm definitely not the person to teach credit score. Mine is in that 790-ish range. So if I had an 840, I would have a YouTube channel on credit scores. But I don't. Third step, and the fun thing with this is we're coming up to the third step. This is the one that a lot of people wait the longest to do, and it should be one of the first things you do. You can actually do these all at the same time. You could be learning how to save, work on your credit score, and third, any guesses? Pre-approval. Talk to a lender. Before you call an agent, before you've decided the strategy you're going to work on, call a lender to find out what your options are based on your history. What kind of lending have you used?
So I have bought with conventional 5% down owner-occupied on my first house hack. I have purchased 20% down additional 30-year mortgages, fixed rates. I have used seller financing. I've done seller financing 15-year mortgages. I've done wholesaling where I used a home equity line of credit on my first property to pay all cash, and I'm going to use a BRRRR strategy to pay myself back. So I've done a lot of different things. But your lender, to your point about credit, Dion, your lender actually at times, if they're a good lender, and I'm sure we have some in here, will coach you on what you can do to improve your credit score. So if you don't have great credit, so you're thinking to yourself, oh, I should wait to call a lender till it's better, don't. Call them now, come up with a plan. It might be 1 or 2 things you could do to jump your score 50 points, and they're not going to charge you the fees some of the credit card resolving companies will, because they just want to get you as a customer in the future to buy a house with them. So.
And sometimes that advice from a lender can actually change the entire way you're thinking about investing. I was making $17 an hour, had a really bad debt to income ratio, low salary, lot of debt. Talked to the lender thinking my brother has invested in real estate and reached financial freedom. I'd like to figure out a way to do that. And they said, you can't. Unless. So there's always when you hear a no, ask but why, from David Green from BiggerPockets. If you hear no, ask but why. So get the explanation from them. They said, well, you don't make enough and you don't have rental income. So I moved from my house. So I lived on a lake in a 4-bedroom house with my kids. We moved into an apartment, rented out the house for 2 years to get rental income on my tax returns so that I can go back to the lender 2 years later before I can actually buy a rental and say, I'm not making much more. I'm like 19 an hour now. But I have rental income on 2 years of tax returns, so now I want to buy, ended up being a duplex. And they looked at the rental income from the house and the rental income from the other side of the duplex, 75% of that, raised what I could buy. I was actually able, with a low income, to be able to buy a duplex and do a house hack. So sometimes talking to that lender might present an entire different strategy that you haven't even thought of yet. So we're 3 steps in. 4th step, now you know how much you can save, because once you've picked a number, you can actually improve it. What is measured can be improved. You know where to get your credit score. You've talked to a lender to find out your options. Before you talk to an agent, pick a strategy. Look at your market, whether it's going to be local or at a distance. And I picked local because I'm a control freak and I wanted to self-manage. I think there's a hidden cost to having a property management that Mike happily pays 6 figures a year for. Most of us think of property management as that 10% or 8% fee from our rents. It's about 50% of your gross. So it's a much bigger percentage when you look at what you're actually making. So I didn't want to do at a distance, and I wanted to house hack. How did you pick your market that wasn't local?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Dion said strategy. Who in here is in the military? Show of hands. Military? A few people, right? Okay, thank you for your service, fellas. Appreciate that. Yeah, no kidding. So in the military, or in my world, police officer, SWAT officer, we have strategies, we have tactics. So strategy is I want to invest in real estate to achieve financial freedom. One of the tactics you might use is I'm going to house hack. I'm going to invest at a distance in this specific market and buy and hold long-term rentals, versus I'm going to do vacation rentals, Airbnb on the beach. Those are different tactics. It's the sort of way that you accomplish the strategy. For me, I decided to invest at a distance after doing my first house hack. Obviously, I picked my first house hack because I lived there. I have a job there, and so I'm trying to find some place to live and eliminate my most expensive cost, which is the cost of housing. But why I decided to go out of state to Gary, Indiana, if anybody knows or has ever Googled Gary, Indiana, 3 times the national poverty rate, 3 times the crime rate, murder capital of the world, America's most miserable city. God, who the flip would invest there? Well, I decided I wanted to be a slumlord, oppress people. I was already a police officer. What else can I do to make people hate me? I'm kidding, of course. That is not a sanctioned statement by One Rental at a Time. No, I had a friend who's also a police officer, somebody that we all know. His name is Mark. Now, Mark and I chatted back and forth. Zuber introduced us years ago. Mark invested in Alabama. Mark started investing in Indiana. He and I became friends. He's a law enforcement officer. There's sort of a unique bond between cops. We just sort of have that shared life experience. So I trusted Mark. I watched him grow a portfolio from 0 rentals in Gary to now he's at like 25. And he just wouldn't leave me alone. Hey Mike, how come you haven't like looked at anything, called these people, talked to these people? And I ran out of good excuses to say, I Googled it and it really looks bad, So finally I started making the calls and educating myself on the area and connecting with people and building the team and building the network. And so I did that way before I ever bought my first property. I built a team, which for out-of-state investing is the most important thing. So why I picked the market? I got bullied into it by a 50-year-old man I've never met in person, all right? That's why, but I'm glad that I did, because it has been beneficial to me and I've grown a portfolio and I feel like I'm moderately successful. I'm kind of in a room full of giants, but compared to some people, I'm doing all right.
You are doing all right.
Thank you.
So if you're looking at picking your strategy and your market, there's something that I want to take from our law enforcement background that you can use. A lot of people pick a strategy and then find their market and try to force it to work. I wanted to do that. When I first started investing, I owned a house. I moved into an apartment and rented it out. I thought I could buy a house, live in it for a year, move out, rent it out, rinse and repeat. Single family houses in my market do not cash flow. At least I've never seen one that would, right? Other than the one I owned 20 years before I became an investor. So when a police officer shows up at a crime scene, we can't look at the scene and go, I think this is what happened. Let me find evidence to prove it. We have to show up at the scene and think, let me look at the evidence and then see what I decide. And then be ready to change our minds if we find evidence that proves something else. And investing is almost exactly like that. Look at your market, figure out the investors that are investing successfully in that market, find out what they're doing, and find out why it works there. There are areas where small multifamily either don't exist to an extent where you can actually use the strategy, or they don't cash flow, or the turnover is too high. So your market might be completely different than mine, so don't pick a strategy and then think, I have to force this to work. All of the fundamentals will work in several different strategies. Figure out what one works in the market that you're going to be investing in, or do you have to go to a different market to make that one work? So we did saving, credit score, lender, strategy. Now we're on the fifth one. This is finally when you're going to figure out your funnel of properties, which for most of us is going to be a real estate agent or several agents. How many real estate agents, realtors in the room? Okay. So some of you might hate what I'm about to say. Hopefully you enjoyed the part where I said talk to a lender before you talk to an agent. But as an investor, I always work with at least a minimum of 3 agents. If you are an agent and you're working with a home buyer that's going to take you to several showings and take up all your time, you should sign an exclusivity agreement. You should say, you're going to get my time, but I'm going to get your commission. If you're an investor and all you're doing is having auto searches set up, several different ones, and you are transparent and you tell the agent, I have several auto searches set up, but whoever sends me the deal that I want to make an offer on is going to get the job, let the agent decide if they're okay with that or not. So far, I haven't found one that said no, because they're just setting that up. They're not taking me to showings. For some people, it's driving for dollars. For some people, it's mailers. I mean, there's several strategies that you can use to figure out your funnel. So that's, for me, it was finding agents. Figuring out, the most important thing on step 5 is understanding that lender and your agent are not your mentors. Right? The agent's job is to close deals. The lender's job is to sell loan products. I had an investor realtor as my realtor when I first started out. Financially free, has over 30 units, and I thought, okay, this obviously this is my mentor. He knows what he's doing, right? If I purchased the first 3 properties that he had me make offers on, I would have went bankrupt. Because he'd never used mortgages and he never invested in small multifamily. He didn't understand my exact strategy with my goals and resources. So at this point, how did you find your agent out of state?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the first property that I actually purchased out of state, I kind of have a wide variety of ways I've got stuff, was through a turnkey provider. No real estate agents used in that. Turnkey provider recommended to me by the man I mentioned earlier, Mark. But after I bought that property, I was learning my market, doing the work. And I just decided that every time I saw a house that I liked on Realtor.com, as I'm just cruising, I would call on it, and they put you through to some random agent who's paying, and the call just goes to them, and you're a lead for them. So I've talked to several. I don't know exactly how many, but I talked to a lot. I think I've really liked. Remember we had that conversation with Brian Adamson, and he said he makes his students call 20 agents, even if they think they found the one. You have to call 20. I really liked it. I don't want to steal that from him. He's not here, but I didn't call 20. I called several. I was just like, I will call on every house I like. Whoever answers the phone, I'll have a conversation with. I didn't get the same person twice, which was nice. It would have been a little awkward, but yeah. So you do want to talk to as many as possible, and on that as a funnel to get properties. You cannot underestimate the power of networking. In the first interview I ever did with Mike in 2018, after I bought my first house hack, the 2 pieces of advice he gave me were, you need to learn and try to do seller financing, and you have to network more. Well, then COVID happened, not a year and a half later. COVID happened. It was really tough to network for a little while there. Do not underestimate the power of virtual networking. I don't think I've heard that term, but I say it a couple times. I have talked to Michael Zuber for 4 years, several times a year. Now it's every single week. We do multiple videos together. I consider him a friend. I can text him, Instagram him, Facebook message him. I'm just flexing on you guys at this point. I never met him in real life until last night. And he was just like, wow, you're really tall. I was like, I just expected more of a like Disney moment, like it's him, you know? And he just looked at me and goes, you're really tall. I'm like, well, yes. So.
Yeah, tall does not come through on Zoom.
No. Right. But there's a lot of people, I mean, Matt the Lumberjack Landlord was texting, he's buying me a plane ticket to come visit him in New Hampshire in a week. I've never met him in real life. You can do a lot in the comment section of a Facebook group or a YouTube channel in terms of meeting real friends. My mentor, Mark, who I talk to the most, I still have never met. I was supposed to, and then Hurricane Ian wiped his house out, so unfortunately. But yeah, so people you meet here is great, but you don't just have to come to these things. And the reason I brought up the whole thing about networking is because my deals have come, a couple from the MLS. I had an Instagram follower whose name I don't even know. His Instagram name is REI Investor, no picture, no posts. Talks to me, messages me, sends me some random deal I bought 10 days later for $29,000. Like, you can get a lead on a deal from anybody if you just entertain the questions and conversations. So don't write anybody off, network with people. Agents are great, but I also like to not discriminate against everybody else.
Okay, and I want to wrap up with the sixth thing as quick as possible so we can get to questions if there are any. And the sixth one is, for me, almost the most important, because nothing that we've done up to this point would ever reach financial freedom. Do the work. Sixth step is actually take action. Take action doesn't mean buy properties. It means learn a market. It means make offers. It means network. It means actually do the steps to get there. So I reached financial freedom and retired in July of this year. Been retired about 3 months. I actually highly recommend it. Mike, how far are you from retirement, Millennium Mike?
Well, I thought I was going to get there by like 34, 35 in the next few years here. And then the lumberjack sat me down and said, wait till I tell you about healthcare costs and retirement. And I was like, that's actually a really good point. So now I'm not so sure. He kind of beats me up about that one. But I think I'm still aiming for 35 years old.
And you are how old now?
Yeah, I just turned 32.
Can you say that?
Well, it's because Cody made me feel bad about it back there. 22 years old, handsome, just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, one of at a time's got a good looking curl.
I don't know, yeah, for sure.
The best thing about Cody, when I interviewed him for the first time, he was 19, over 30 units. It's triple that now, and you'll get some of those details today. But if you ask a 19-year-old, what's the one thing you would want to share with other people? Can you imagine what he said? I wish I started sooner.
It's almost not legally possible.
That's where we're all at. We all wish we started sooner. And that sooner doesn't matter if you don't take action. So those are the 6 steps. Learn to save, work on your credit score, talk to a lender, pick a strategy, find an agent or your source of rentals, and then actually do the work.
So far so good, yeah?
Yeah.
So let me tell you about the shirts that everybody has on their chair. So those are obviously yours to take. This is a document. Yay! I got a free t-shirt. It doesn't fit me. So the t-shirts come in 3 sizes: extra large, large, and medium. There's 100 extra larges here, 100 large, and 50 mediums. Yours probably doesn't fit you. Guess what? Network with people, and maybe you can find one that fits.
Smart.
I just made it up on the fly. Does that work? Made it up. The really important thing about this shirt is not only does it document the first mastermind, but if you look at the back, those are logos of people, of friends who have helped one rental at a time. And note to self, never make a t-shirt like this again with all those colors, because it's ridiculously expensive. It was a great idea until I got the bid, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm committed now. All right, so now it is your turn. The event turns to the audience. Raise your hand. Please tell us who you are and where you're from, and what your question is, and if it's aimed for one of these 2 handsome gentlemen, we'll go from there. So question number 1 to start our day is, yes, sir?
Yes, I'm Mike from Sacramento.
Mike from Sacramento?
My question is for Dion is, do you have put your properties in a trust?
Go ahead. So the question is, have you put your properties in a trust? That's what it is.
Okay, so this is not one rental at a time's opinion. Is that fair?
That's fair.
So a trust, I'm going to.
Different opinions.
Right, different opinions. Trust, I'm going to go off the lumberjack landlord's model of putting everything in a trust. And I kind of had that reaction, if you're not familiar with, because I associate trust with LLCs when the question comes up. And I have a long list of reasons why no LLC. But a trust makes sense
Definitely a trust.
for my kids. Doesn't make sense or have any benefit for me. Right. Cool.
All right, keep the questions coming. Got a lot coming? I'm sorry. Yep, over there.
Nahea from San Diego. I got actually a question for each of you. First, Dion, for the VA loan, on one of your videos, you said you can go up to 5 units or 5. I couldn't find it. I talked to an agent and they said you only can do 4. Where did you get that information from?
Talk to different lenders. As a matter of fact, Wells Fargo, as much as everybody doesn't like the big bank lenders, they're the ones that told me that I can go to 5 units on a VA loan.
Okay, and then I got Matt working on it too. So for Mike, being out of state,
Good looking Mike or the short guy?
So I'm looking at a property in Virginia Beach. Currently, it's owned by, or it's being run by a property management company. They have a loophole clause in there saying that if the seller, who's my friend, sells it to me, that they want like 6% of the sale. Have you ever had any issue? Yeah. And that they have to do the whole term of it. If not, I got to pay them out. And if after their property management term is up, that they have 180 days after if I sell. Have you ever come across that problem with a property management team?
Not with a property management team. Did everybody hear that question?
Did
Okay.
everyone-
Okay. Yeah, I've no. He's saying that the property management company that's currently managing a property he wants to purchase from his friend is going to try to enact a clause that makes it so that he has to pay them 6% of the sales price.
Basically, yes. So, sadly, or California used to have it. I looked at the newer ones, they actually removed this clause, but the management company has this one little paragraph that shows that they are gonna be basically the agent for the seller.
So unfortunately, that sounds like legal advice.
Yeah.
And in my profession as a police officer, I don't give it. I have not had that experience. My first inclination would be like, well, when does that contract with them end? Can you just wait it out? You know?
He had to renew it because we ran into issues, and then with the increases in the interest rates that I missed out on that, so I couldn't purchase it at the time. So now I have a whole nother year I gotta wait or buy them out.
Right. I mean, it's going to come down to running the numbers. Is it worth it to buy them out, and, or is it better to hire an attorney and fight it?
I did have an attorney, a friend, and they said they couldn't do anything as far as with that, as they could find. But it was
It's
the
a valid listing in the contract.
It is, right?
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
okay, I didn't know. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Oh, look at this. Dion Talk.
Just running.
Great shares. So, Mike, Millennial Mike, with Gary, Indiana, how would you describe, because I've been there, and I've all the things that you...
Gotham City.
Yeah, go on. So, the class of property that you invest, is it solid? Is there a B-class property of single family? Is it C-class? And then also, are you doing any kind of like Section 8? Or any just thoughts on long distance, how you select the property manager? Basically, how do you assure that you're going to get the performance out of a place that's kind of, like you said, Gotham City, and just some thoughts there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, when I landed here in Fresno and I got off the plane and I walked into the first gas station with Dion in Chesapeake, I was like, okay, Mike can't give me crap because this is a gas station from Gary, Indiana. This guy is surrounded by bulletproof glass and it's caged in. So I'm offended that I've been up here causing waves. But that's a great question. How do you know you're going to have tough tenants and tough properties? The only thing that you can do is learn from other people's success. Otherwise, you're going to have to do trial by fire on your own. And I did not want to go through the pain and misery of trying to figure out who the right property manager was, who has the best systems for eviction or for finding tenants and all that type of stuff. The types of properties that I buy, I have bought completely slumlord properties and done gut rehabs to make them something that I would live in. I don't buy properties that are garbage and keep them garbage. I was buying, the first 4 were all turnkey, fully remodeled day one. They're like B-class properties, right? If they were in a nicer area, they might even pass for better than a B-class. But because it's Gary, It's not. But what happens is when you have the nice properties, you get to pick from the nice tenants. And so you don't have to deal with the issues. If you're a slumlord and you have the garbage properties, well, then all you have are people who have problems, and that's all they can afford, and that's all they can deal with. So really it comes down to, for me, the most important people you can have in your out-of-state investing team is, number one, other investors in the area who are already doing it successfully, that are friends with you, not trying to sell you anything and just want to help you. There's someone who's investing successfully and someone who's investing unsuccessfully in every single market, real estate market in the country. Whether it's Gary, Indiana, Seattle, Washington, or Fresno, there's people who are doing it right and people who aren't. So you find somebody who's doing it right and you copy and paste all of their strategies into your life so you look like a genius. And then when people ask you questions, you just say, I didn't reinvent the wheel. So my property manager is referred to me, my contractors are referred to me, my attorney is referred to me, the tenants are placed from the same property manager who's done this for a group chat I have with 12 other people. They've placed hundreds of tenants. Do we still have evictions? Yes. But at not a higher rate than people investing in other areas. I've evicted one single tenant, and that's an inherited tenant who right after I bought the property got put on house arrest at his mama's house in Illinois. It wasn't even house arrest at my property, so we couldn't get a hold of him. That's the only problem tenant that I've had. So.
Question.
Question for Millennial Mike. I've acquired some properties out of state, and my major challenge at this point is the property manager.
Mm-hmm.
So how to select competent property manager, and then how to set up in the contract or in the procedure of interacting with them so that you can hold them accountable so that your house performance does not slide down over the years.
Right. So there's actually a few questions in there. And selecting a good property manager is actually a technique you learn at out-of-state or in-state investing, because Mike had to pick a good property manager, and I think part of his story is he fired his first couple, right? First five, sorry about that. So it doesn't change what you do, whether you're out-of-state or in-state. The number one piece of advice that I could give, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, is how important it is to know other people who are doing it right. Because the first thing I would do if I wanted to invest in Fresno, California would be, hey Mike, who are the 5 people you fired if you'll tell me, and who are you currently using? Now maybe they don't use people that have a small portfolio starting out, maybe they don't manage for you. Okay, well who do they recommend? Who else do you recommend? Because I don't want to start on Google property managers, Gary, Indiana, and start making phone calls. It's not bad, but you could probably start from a better spot than that. So in this market that you acquired properties in, do you have any friends there? Do you know anybody there? Have you attended a real estate meetup there?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
That's my shortcoming.
And it's far away, it's tough to buy a ticket, it's difficult, but let me tell you what you can do real quick. You go on Facebook. What was the name of the city?
McAllen, Texas.
McAllen, Texas Real Estate Investing Group. Something's going to pop up. Well, maybe it's in like Northwest Texas. Northwest Texas Real Estate Investing Group. Join the group. Go on YouTube. McAllen, Texas rental properties. See who's making videos about the area you're interested in. Because there's a lot of unsuccessful, lame YouTubers like me that have time to talk to all of you. Instead of the super busy guy who, when he responds to all his comments, it's yes, okay, or got it. You're not going to get the conversation from Mike Love over here.
Mike Super can also comment. I mean, you got the audacity of screening and firing 5 people and trying to get the right one. I mean, could you comment on your experience?
Absolutely. I think the most important thing with a property manager is remember that you're paying them. They work for you, right? To Dion's point, you're getting a big percentage of potential cash flow. So the biggest thing, again, I ran a sales team for most of my career, so maybe it's second nature to me, but I believe in setting expectations, managing to set expectations, and everybody gets one mistake, but not 2. Right? The other thing I recommend everyone do with their property manager is set a schedule. Like, I want to talk for 15 minutes on Monday, or 15 minutes on Friday, or once a month, whatever is comfortable for you. Without exception, that phone call happens, right? And if you want, I would actually, with today's technology, make it a Zoom. There is something different between talking on the phone and seeing someone's face. Seeing their face, you get to know them more. You get to understand more. You just get that better connection. So what I would tell you, whether you're using a property manager next door, in-state, out-of-state, it's your dollar. They're working for you. Set expectations. Communicate at some specific cadence, and then fire quick. Don't listen to bullshit excuses. They get one, not two.
Thank you.
Question.
Hi, Harish from San Diego. Long time follower, probably like 3 years, 2 years. So I have a problem, analysis paralysis.
Yes.
And I've been listening to you. I've been doing the work. I find deals that are positive cash flow that shows up green on the spreadsheet. Everything looks good. But again, when I listen to you, you're saying I'll do a better deal every few months from now. It's going to get better and better. When do I know which one is better?
Oh, so this is my thought about analysis paralysis. And first off, thank you for being vulnerable. I think most of us in this room, myself included, have had that at some point. This is why I talk about your first job with one rental at a time is to learn average. It sounds like you know what average is in your buy box today. Is that yes or no? Give me a number. 3%, 5%, 7%? What is it? 5. All right. So if you could articulate to me or someone else in this room that your average deal is 5%, you need to start writing offers today at 7 or 8. Stop playing 40 chess. You know average. It sounds like you know it pretty well. Go write offers at 7, 8, or 9 and just get started. If you get one, congratulations. You get a card from me. Then, and only then, do you worry about possibly finding something better in the future. Stop. You don't go to second base without going on first. In one rental at a time world, it is all about understanding average. That is what most people get wrong. You have no idea how many people I talk to that says, hey, I want to do what you and Olivia did. I went and saw 3 houses this weekend. I wrote 2 offers and I got 1. What do you think? I'm like, you're an idiot. What the hell are you doing? That's not what we did. Right? Can you tell me what average is? No, I saw 3 houses, red, blue, and green. How the hell do you know what those are? Right? Once you know average, I want you to celebrate. Like if you have no deals, but you could sit here today and tell me what average is, I want you to know you're winning. I want you to hear me. You are winning. Feel good. If you can tell me it's 5, you can tell me it's 3. I'm not here to judge a number. I don't care. Your buy box is your buy box. Whenever average, add 2 points, add 2.5, start writing offers. Feel me? You got it? No questions? You got it. Send me a note when you write your first offer.
Okay.
Awesome. Yes.
For Dion, so many people advise getting an LLC, and I don't have one, but what is your list of reasons?
Actually, thank you for asking, and Mike is going to walk over there now so he doesn't get sued. Okay, so we'll wrap this up, Mike, as we're coming up on the hour, so we'll wrap this up with this. That's a great question, and it's your asking the question is why I care so much and why my face does that thing whenever LLCs come up. Because I don't care if somebody who has 10 or 20 rentals puts their stuff in an LLC. You have the bandwidth. You can handle the expense. You can handle the extra work. Who cares? That new investor who doesn't have a rental yet or has 1 or 2, but doesn't invest because somebody said you have to have an LLC for asset protection or worse, tax benefits, right? So the new investor's thinking, okay, so I don't want to get sued and lose all my stuff, and I don't want to pay more taxes than I have to, but what do I name my LLC? How do I get an LLC? Who do I pay to make the LLC? How do I file taxes on my LLC? How many LLCs do I need? Do I do a series, in-state, out-of-state? Do I do in the state I'm investing in or where I live? I'm in analysis paralysis and I haven't even thought of real estate. If you have partners, I recommend having an LLC. Limited liability company's intention is to protect you from someone else's mistake. There is no asset protection by having an LLC for your own assets. The LLC is your asset. When you are sued, your assets are going to be at risk. You will probably be sued in real estate. So I will talk about 3 forms of asset protection before I wrap up, if someone reminds me if I forget. So if you need to use hard money, a lot of hard money lenders will require an LLC. So there are times it makes sense to have an LLC, but if you're a new investor thinking, I want to invest, but I don't have an LLC, there are no tax benefits The IRS in 1996 actually determined, and this is what the two counties that I invest in use as the reason why they disregard, they do not pierce the veil, they just ignore LLCs if you're a single sole member LLC, if you're the only person that owns it and doesn't have partners. In 1996, the IRS said all LLCs, when it comes to taxes, are disregarded entities. They do not exist. So courts for a long time would pierce the veil. If you don't do your finances right, you commingle any of your expenses with your business expenses and don't pay yourself right, and you get sued, the LLC would go away. Well, now they're just disregarding them and saying it's all your asset anyways. So if you have that new investor and you say, I have to have an LLC for tax benefits, there are none. I don't have an LLC and I write off everything that everybody else in this room can write off. I'm not a real estate professional, so yeah, there's an exception for that. But the LLC doesn't impact that. And second, there's no real asset protection from having it. But it's a barrier when you're first investing. How do you pay yourself? How do you structure it? All of these things when you already have enough to learn, like what strategy, what market, what is yield, what is cash on cash, how do I calculate my cash flow, what's a good deal, what's a bad deal. All of those things are the things to worry about, not the LLC for asset protection or tax benefits. Some people will use an LLC to create a little distance so their tenants don't know their name. If that's something you're trying to do, sure. As long as it's not stopping you from investing, go for it. So the three forms of asset protection that I do use, the first is insurance, which you should have if you have an LLC or not, right? Insurance on the property. I do full replacement value, not just the make right for the mortgage. I don't care if the lender's made right. I want to be made whole, have the whole building rebuilt based on current value. And then at least $300,000 injury or slip fall coverage. So insurance covers the properties. Once I had 4, I probably could have done this at 3, but once I had 4 properties, I added an umbrella policy. So if an insurance claim goes above the $300,000 threshold, kicks into the $2 million umbrella that's in the background protecting everything that I own. The second form of asset protection is leverage. I have 16 rental units, 7 properties, 6 have mortgages. If I get sued, those banks are in first position. So it's not like I'm going to lose that because the banks are there. So you can actually use leverage as a form of asset protection. And the third and the most important asset protection when you are a landlord and you own rental properties, this is not an attack, this is just me making it matter, fix stuff. Like, listen to your tenants. Anything that's safety sensitive, and I use 3 words, these are the 3 words that really matter to me. If these 3 words come up in the conversation, I need a phone call, not a text or an email. I can be the second phone call, but I want a phone call if the conversation is going to include fire, flood, or blood. So educate all the tenants. These are the 3 words that makes it okay to call me if there's something going on. But do walkthroughs, have your handyman do walkthroughs, fix anything that's stair or banister or deck related, things that are safety concerns. And if a tenant makes a complaint, understand your local laws on how much time you have to fix a normal issue. But if it's a safety concern, that is an immediate fix. Because anything that happens between when you're notified and when you get it fixed can add to their strength in a lawsuit. So does that make sense on why LLCs? So if you have LLCs, great. If it's a barrier to continuing or growing your portfolio, that's where I have a problem with it. So, cool.
Hey, Dion, you mentioned earlier a trust and LLC associate them. Do you have your LLCs in your trust or something? Or?
So no LLCs, and I'm going to do a trust because I'm going to kind of mimic what the lumberjack landlord who also has no LLCs does. He has an LLC for healthcare, like created a company to have his healthcare handled, but not for his real estate. But I have 3 kids, so I'm going to have a trust for them.
Have you assessed whether another corporate structure besides limited liability would be better?
No. No, it's a fair question. No corporate structure. Here's how my business looks. I'll break it down in like 30 seconds. 16 rental properties, 1 checking account, 1 saving account, 1 credit card that pay off daily, 1 Excel spreadsheet with a tab for income and a tab for expenses that I send to the CPA. That's it. That's all it took to reach financial freedom, make work optional, walk away from a 6-figure job with $2 million in golden handcuffs, and never look back. It can be that simple. But you can make it much more involved if you like. Last one.
Cassidy from Grass Valley. Thank you. And my question is about, so I'm relatively early in the process. I house hack. I just bought an additional
Congrats.
duplex
Yep.
last year. And while I'm saving up for the next down payment with my rental income and my 401k, my normal W-2, how do you expand your network while not feeling like you're wasting people's time if you're maybe a year or two out from being able to buy your next place?
Does you purchasing your next place really impact them? Or does you wanting to be an investor and talking investment help them? So and I don't know who it was directed at, but 2 years from moving into an apartment to buying my first duplex, 2 years before the next duplex, all of that time talking with lenders, talking with agents, talking with other investors, all of that network growth happening in the beginning where I wasn't doing much, 2 purchases in 4 years. No one ever said, I don't want to talk to you, you're not taking enough action. I had a plan, and they knew it's taking me this long because every month that you save and you add to that amount, you're increasing the amount for down payment, closing costs, immediate repairs, reserves, and options. Like right now, I know somebody who started 2 BRRRR projects 6 months ago when interest rates were 3. They're finishing 2 BRRRR projects right now where interest rates are in the 6s.
7.
They're in the
7.
6s now. Look again.
Oh.
They just dropped. So that would be unfortunate if you needed the money and had to get it out, right? But if you were saving and eventually you get a savings large enough to where you could do your own BRRRR without hard money, without having a timeline, without having to refinance, that is an entire another option that opens up for you because you've been saving that amount of time. So I don't think anybody's going to care that you're not making deals happen if you are transparent and saying, yep, I'm going to buy, but I'm saving a down payment.
Yeah, no, I think real estate industry is built on relationships. So that's a concern I would recommend not having. Right, just be upfront, right, and let them know your goal is to meet more and more real estate agents, more and more lenders, and go forward. And oh, by the way, you can also give referrals, right? You know other investors, and hey, if you find someone to click with, you can pass on referrals. So I would not be concerned with, oh, I can't call a real estate agent because I won't buy for 2 years. What I would tell a real estate agent is, hey, here's my name, here's my buy box, right? What real estate agents want to hear from us is you know what you're doing. Don't call a real estate agent and say these words. Give me a deal. You guys laugh. I have heard that. This was the biggest thing in 2012 and 13. Michael, let me know if there's a deal you don't want to do. I'm going to do every deal I find. So. Nothing's going to do that. But yeah, so again, just keep going. Everybody in this room knows one of my rules. I think it's number 3, meet 2 people a week. There's nowhere in that rule says 2 people a week when you have money. Just meet 2 people a week. Just keep going. And be genuine, don't lie. Just be who you are, and just keep going. I think we got time for one more question. Yes, ma'am.
Any recommendations on what to do? For example, I hear a lot from investors that making connections is about what you bring to the table. So most of the time when I want to make a connection, I feel like, oh my God, I have nothing to bring to the table. They're the experts, they know. So what can I bring to the table? And I'm having a hard time making connections.
Yeah, I think so. Again, let's
repeat the question
for the camera. So basically, the idea is, hey, okay, Michael, I get it. Rule number 3 says meet 2 people, but I have nothing to give. Right? I feel like I'm taking. When all of these folks that you're meeting with, they're in the service industry. What I have found time and time again is if you come being yourself, telling what you're looking for, and again, that buy box is important. Like, hey, I want to buy a 93703, 3 or 4 bedrooms, between 12 and 1600 square feet. I see you have listing 1, 2, 3. You have suddenly jumped ahead of the line. Because the people that are calling these individuals don't do that. They say stupid things like, hey, if you ever get a deal, give me a call. People say that stuff. No, show them what you're looking for, tell them what your buy box is, ask questions about their listing. It's just business is just about conversations. You don't have to be, hey, I know I got a buddy of mine that will, if you answer my questions, I'll give you a referral. No, just be a genuine person. Tell them what you're looking at. Let them know that you've done the work, and it will go miles. Just do the work. Share what you've learned. Ask legitimate questions like, hey, I see you got listing 1, 2, 3. It's on Grant Street. Does it have room for another bathroom or whatever, right? Just show them that you've done the work, and it will just go. They'll just share. Make sense? All right. So let's thank Dion and Millennial Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. So how does this work? No PowerPoint, you get to ask questions. Does that feel okay? So when I have this crazy